Now the third thought that can change the mind is karma and result. It says Buddha taught that karma and its results are inevitable, either positive or negative. It will certainly happen on us. Therefore, understand precisely what to adopt and what to abandon. Now again, why is karma and result or cause of effect, right? The third thought. It's because after the impermanence, meditate on impermanence of life, then sooner or later we will fall under the power of impermanence, and everything we do has an effect. So the Buddha taught that every action we take, whether of body, speech, or mind, creates a karma, and it results. Positive actions like kindness, generosity, and wisdom, all this lead to positive outcomes like happiness, peace, calm, all that, right? On the other hand, negative actions like hatred, ignorance, greed, all this lead us to suffering. So our actions inevitably wrapping on us, whether this life or future. So Sera Khandro says precisely what to adopt. It means actions and conduct, whatever behaviors that lead to positive karma. As I said, kindness, bodhicitta, compassion, wisdom, mindfulness, and so on and so forth. These actions we should adopt because they bring both personal happiness and the well-being of other beings. Precisely what to adopt. Precisely what to abandon, it means actions that generate negative karma, such as harming, anger, jealousy, selfishness, so on. So these actions create suffering for oneself and others. So basically, Sera Khandro saying that, make good choice that lead to happiness and liberation rather than unhappiness and suffering. So it's important to be aware of your intentions and actions before acting. Buddha always taught this, ask yourself, will this bring harm or benefit to myself or others? Precisely what to adopt or what to abandon. This verse also encourages a sense of important, like urgency to live very skillfully, because since karma is inevitable, that means we cannot escape the results of our actions. So we make sure and aware of our actions, but it's not that easy. We experience sort of anger, attachment, jealousy in our day-to-day experience without understanding karma and the impermanence of life. If, as I said, we have some kind of experience of the impermanence of life, we will behave very differently. The way we think, uh, the way we feel, all this very differently. I mean, when we experience impermanence, not just intellectually, but through experience, it can change our actions. I love to practice on impermanence. Most people don't, because we will appreciate our life more if you practice impermanence of life. We will recognize the preciousness of each moment, and we can let go of attachment, anger, jealousy, all this. And we care for others deeply without attachment. It makes us more compassionate. When you realize that both good and bad experience in your life are temporary, it becomes easier to face challenges with, equanimity. So you may spend less time on distractions, conflicts, realizing the preciousness of your limited time. You can focus on living an authentic life. It makes you to act now rather than later. Like you want to meditate now or do something good now because you really understand impermanence of life experientially. Knowing that time is limited can give your life a sense of urgency and take immediate steps towards your goal. That's what practice impermanence of life does. You become aware of what you're doing, or you catch yourself before you make mistakes and create bad karma. So therefore, if you practice impermanence of life correctly, it will change your life. It will change your life. But if you practice it incorrectly, it will bring you uncomfortable feelings for sure. Now, after practice impermanence, it is important to understand cause and karma. That's why I always, you remember, say, do every action out of bodhicitta as much as possible. Because bodhicitta only create nothing but create good action, positive action, good karma. Then all your actions become a positive. So we should focus our whole life on this point, right? We should plan to live our life with this kind of attitude. Then all temporal and ultimate success will follow. So this one solution takes away so many problems and unhappiness, both for ourselves and others. So at this time, we have taken a precious rebirth within incredible capacity to think and to perform great actions, which animals and lower beings cannot do. That's why we have the most preciousness of life. We have much potential to think in a better way and have the opportunity to benefit all sentient beings. By thinking this, we don't create our attachment or dissatisfaction, but love and compassion because of preciousness of human life, impermanence of life, and causing karma, right? So that's why this practice, the outer preliminaries, the key, the foundation of all Buddhist practice. All the teachings of Buddha based on this practice, basically. Okay, now the fourth thought that changed the mind is understanding the defects of samsara and the benefits of liberation, right? It says samsara is like a petted swamp, creating unbearable suffering of self and others. Because of that, stay alone in the solitude of the mountains and settle your mind. Now, the fourth thought that changed the mind is understanding the defects of samsara and the benefit of enlightenment. So this verse reflects a key Buddhist teaching about the nature of samsara and offers a practical solution. So samsara's nature is like samsara is like it's the Sera Khandro said, patriot swim like samsara's nature, right? Samsara is like patriot, full meaning full of impurities, such as hatred, attachment, ignorance, all this. Samsara is like swamp. It is difficult to escape and endless and move from one form of suffering to another without recognizing the causes. If you stuck in swamp, then it's difficult to skip, and you don't know what is going on under there, the causes we don't recognize. So this kind of metaphor encourages us to see samsara not as something to be attached and cling to, but as something to escape or transform. How? How to escape from samsara? It says, stay alone and solitude. It provides the opportunity to break free from samsara. Because in solitude, we can step away from distractions, such as attachment and the constant busyness of life and all these conflicts. And it allows us to reflect deeply and focus on spiritual practice without external all these disturbances. Another way to understand this solitude doesn't always mean completely physical isolation. It can also refer to mental solitude, a state of detachment from world concerns, even while living among others. That's why it says, settle your mind, settle your mind. This emphasizes the importance of calming and settling the mind, because in Buddhism, it is within the mind that samsara and liberation arise, not external thing. A settled mind through meditation can see clearly the nature of samsara and enlightenment, liberation. So solitude here doesn't necessarily mean run into a sort of remote cave or, middle of nowhere, but it can mean taking mindful pauses in your day to reflect and meditate and develop inner peace and understanding the true nature of samsara and liberation. But and then also, like, I've been meditating in solitude area. It feels very different, though. It feels like you slowly forget all these distractions, like physically, like if you are asleep. It feels different. It brings benefit. I can see that. I experience it. But here, that's difficult. So it doesn't necessarily mean like you have to go somewhere and escape and stay in a cave. It doesn't mean that. It's settle your mind. This is key point, Sera Khandro say. So we have to understand everything. Samsara liberation is about our mind. We have not recognized it is our own mind which creates our experience, whether happiness or suffering. So many of you already know about samsara, but while I am teaching on this topic, I wanted to share with all of you my own experience of practicing the defects of samsara. There are few steps you need to take. As a Buddhist practitioner, number one, you need to develop some kind of good recognition of impermanence is the true nature of our lives. Number two, you need to develop some experience of satisfaction and contentment. And number three, you need to develop some feeling of compassion towards the suffering of other beings, including yourself, if you feel uncomfortable or facing challenges. So these steps are important because they make your mind turn towards the Dharma practice. Without taking these steps and practices, you do not have the opportunity to cultivate renunciation. We have to continue to live in this samsara, so we cannot ignore it. So we have to talk about samsara and practice its essence, which is basically our own mind. As Bhakti Rinpoche said, from the top to the bottom of samsara, there is no true, ultimate, lasting happiness or peace. So sooner or later, as a Buddhist practitioner, we need to take the path of liberation, not path to samsara. The meaning of liberation is completely realizing the true nature of our mind. It's because samsara itself is in the state of liberation. So the difference between liberation and samsara depends on how we related to them and how we discipline our mind. And in order to realize that, we need to take these at least, okay? There are so many instructions and methods, but at least we need to take these steps slowly without too much expectation, okay? So we're so fortunate to have the opportunity to practice Dharma and to have the capacity to understand it. That's why we're precious life. We have precious life. So the cause of attaining liberation is to start with making our mind contemplate on these four thoughts that change the mind is the foundation. So these practices are related to each other, right? And they're the best foundation of all other practice. You have to understand that. So this practice allow our minds and actions to become beneficial and the cause of happiness for all other sentient beings. The four thoughts awaken us to seeing our lives as an opportunity to wake up further and take us on the right path. So these four thoughts change us to make the best of our circumstances in this moment and help us to focus on what is most meaningful in our lives, okay? That's the summary of the four thoughts. We have so many teachings on this, so I don't want to go in detail. But the key, the meaning, the essential meaning of four thoughts, Now the next teaching says, pray to your master and to the three jewels, and strive with your body, speech, and mind, set on the path of virtue, make efforts to accumulate merits and purify obscurations, and endeavors to save the lives of beings in danger. So it says, pray to your master and three jewels. I'm going to talk a little bit on this topic because in Western culture, a lot of people begin by studying Buddhist teachings through books and online resources and whatever. And people think they can take the spiritual path on their own without any teacher and without take the refuge vows. Yes, of course, you can do whatever you want, but it could be challenging practice Buddhism without any teacher and having taken refuge vows. That's why pray to your master and three jewels, Sera Khandro says. And it can be harder to stay disciplined without teacher and community, sangha. Practice alone without guide and lineage and community, you may feel stuck and discouraged. And taking refuge in the three jewels is a former commitment to the Buddhist path. And traditionally, these vows are given by a teacher, symbolizing a connection to the lineage and to the community, sangha. So practice alone, no access to a community and no guidance, there is a risk of applying teachings incorrectly and leading to confusion in your practice. The Buddhist teacher has at least three responsibilities if they want to help students. Number one, Buddhist teacher's responsibility is to give students the instructions through their own experience and take them on the right path, step by step. Number two, to point out students' own mistaken view and encourage them when practice feels difficult and show them the way to happiness in the future. Number three, the teacher gives the lineage transmissions, such as teachings and empowerment, so that the Buddha Dharma will continue in the future. So in Buddhism, the lineage is important. And a good teacher helps students cultivate their inner wisdom and confidence to walk the path independently, eventually. So the ultimate goal of Buddhist teacher is not to create dependence, but to empower students to discover the truth for themselves. So sometimes a teacher will have a huge impact on their lives and determine the direction their life will take. With these kind of important responsibilities, the student may feel a deep sense of appreciation, Buddhists call devotion to their teacher. That's how you develop the teacher and student relationship. But if the student don't know how to follow a spiritual teacher, they may have a lot of expectation of how a teacher should or should not be. If you're expecting the teacher to be perfect, that can lead to a lot of disappointment. In the Buddhist path, there are many different kinds of teachers you may need. But I think you should know that there are two important types of teacher called a spiritual teacher, a spiritual friend, and the guru. You have to understand what is different between these two. The spiritual friend is someone who helps you on your way. They give you teachings and guide you on the right path. Um, the spiritual friend is sharing something precious with you, and you're following just a step behind this spiritual friend, right? But the spiritual friend does not require the same kind of commitment you need with the gurus. In the Vajrayana tradition, the practice of taking teacher is called Vajra Guru, and the student is also called Vajra student. So in the tradition of Vajrayana, the Guru and Vajra student, this kind of relationship much more intense and powerful. So there is a lot of responsibilities for both the Vajra Guru and Vajra student, right? They both have the capacity to go beyond ordinary habitual way of seeing the world. So you should not enter into this kind of relationship until you are ready. When you decide to take this kind of teacher and student relationship, you have to follow whatever your guru tells you. You have no choice. That means you have to find a perfect teacher who has all the qualities. Otherwise, you can't do it. So you have to examine everything, the lineage, the teacher's practice, history, and so on and so forth. The student also need to have good qualities, such as unchangeable faith, devotion, pure samaya. So when you have all these qualities, then you may be ready to take this kind of Vajra teacher or guru. Then, of course, once you have this kind of good connection, then enlightenment is not far away. So what I'm trying to say here is that you must examine the teacher and you must also examine yourself as a student. Otherwise, I don't see how anyone can have and develop a good teacher and student relationship. And another important piece of advice here is she says, you should endeavor to save the lives of beings in danger. And so this, as you know, especially animals' life, in tremendous fear and stress every day of their life. So we can help and save these beings who are suffering when we have the opportunity. Keep that in your mind, okay? Now, the next part says, if you don't benefit yourself now while you have the opportunity, no one will be there to liberate you in the future. This verse emphasizes the importance of taking personal responsibility for your spiritual growth and your liberation. So it says, if you don't benefit yourself now, while you have the opportunity, it means now you have a human life with access to the Dharma practice and have the ability to understand the Buddhist teachings. So it's a perfect time to work on liberating yourself from samsara, from suffering. It tells us that no one else can do the inner work of transformation for you. You may not achieve the goal, but you will be making step towards the things you want. So we need to take care of ourselves, meaning develop experience before we help others, right? Because if for example, I'm full of anxiety and stress, I shouldn't be trying to help others. A teacher must study and be qualified first and then teach others. That's what we do. Even the Buddha himself does not teach others before he developed his qualities. The Buddha said, be a lamp unto yourself, right? You have to take care of your practice. It means, liberation is a realization of your own mind. It's something that can be given. I mean, according to this text, first we need to benefit ourselves when we have the opportunity. And if we don't take responsibility now, we may miss the opportunity in this lifetime. That's what this verse saying, So this teaching reminds us that the potential for liberation is within us, and the present moment is the best time to begin. So we have to recognize that spiritual development or progress depends on our own effort. When we closely examine our thoughts and our emotions, we will recognize that they arise in our mind effortlessly. However, when it comes to positive thoughts, such as love, compassion, kindness, even with effort, we find it difficult to generate them in our mind. Why? I mean, we totally believe we can change these things. We can change our mind. We can develop these positive thoughts through the practice of Dharma. But we have this strong habit. So these negative emotions arise in our mind sort of effortlessly. So we have to change. In order to change that, we have to take actions now. Because if we don't do it when we have the opportunity, then no one will be there for us. The Buddha said, light your own torch. Your own torch. Do not depend on anyone. So, Dharma friends, right now is the best time to practice Dharma. I can't say only practice Dharma. Of course, you have to do so many other things that's important in your life, but don't ignore. You should consider the practice Dharma is the most important right now when you have the opportunity. We have been suffering in samsara up to now. So if we don't become free from suffering, samsara, then we will have to experience all kinds of suffering without end. So that's basically, I love this verse. It encourages me, to act now. And this is a great opportunity. This is just one time that we have received human birth, rebirth. And not only that, as I mentioned above, we also have made the Dharma. So please try to make your life the most meaningful in every action you do, if it's possible. And in order to get good at your practice, you must learn how to turn every moment into actual practice of the Dharma teachings. It's not really necessary to sit down and meditate. You're at your home or some other places, but remember teachings in your daily life. Every day we have the opportunity to practice bodhicitta, peace and harmony. Without understanding how to do this, going forward along the Buddhist path is just not possible. The more you pay attention, the more your mind will begin to change. And that makes you a happier person and increases your satisfaction and self-confidence if you use this opportunity. It takes for a long time in order to change the habits, all these habits, right? With this kind of busyness, of this life. But that doesn't matter how long it takes. You have to believe in yourself that you can do this. It takes 30 years, me, to change these things. Now I begin to see, oh yeah, I can do this. I can change this. Oh, now it's working. It takes 30 years. Okay, now here we're going to meditate again on karma and its result. That's the topic here, right? Because it will help us mindful living, right? And how to act positively if you practice karma and result. So again, sit comfortably with a straight back and calm your mind by focusing on your breath. Breathe naturally and let your body and your mind calm and relax. Set your motivation doing this for all sentient beings and include yourself. Okay, now practice, meditate on karma and result. First, reflect on your past positive actions. Think of specific actions you have done, such as kindness, generosity, etc. Just to reflect on that you have done something good and meaningful. I'm sure last week you have done something that is meaningful, that is positive, based on your kindness, your generosity, whatever. Reflect on the good feelings, positive result that comes from those your positive actions. Then you focus on, reflect on this satisfaction that you've done something really good, either for yourself, for others. So you can see if you reflect on the positive actions in your past, it brings you happiness because of that. That's what we call result. Good action, good karma brings, gives you good result. So if you've done something good, then you focus on the good feelings, satisfactions, the positive. So whether it's true or not, karma and result. Karma literally means action. So if you do something good, it brings even into your mind like this, you feel good, you are satisfied, you see the point of your life. That's what we call karma and it result. So you have to develop that, think about positive actions, what I've done, and then you see, oh, that this makes me feel good. I want to do this again. And then if you feel good, the result of your past karma, and positive about those actions, then you make a strong commitment, do them again in the future. Now think of times when your actions caused harm, either yourself or others, and reflect on the difficulties that your actions created for yourself and others. I did that because of that happened. You have to recognize the negative action you created for yourself or for others. If you feel sad and unhappy with those negative actions that you had done, then you sincerely regret them. Purify your past unwholesome actions, which is you should make a commitment and try not to do that again in the future. These are what we call analytical meditation, not rest in meditation, but you have to understand the good, both good and bad, something that you have created in the past. It doesn't mean past like long time ago, even like last week, you think of that. So contemplate how your actions affect not just yourself, but also others. And others means people in your life, your family, your friends. And also it's important to deeply sort of recognizing this interconnectedness, the nature of life. So you say, my action is matters, not just for myself, but for others too, because we are interconnected to each other. And you say, may all beings understand the karma and its result and live with sort of great wisdom and bodhicitta. So once you contemplate on all this, both positive and negative actions that you created, both result of positive and negative, and then end of that you make a commitment and then just to relax there